think now we will get into the invasions of the Jagannath temple. And so there were a total of 18 invasions which took place. Now, this is something astonishing, and people, or even we are rarely taught in our history books, neither in NCRT or in our any college books or university books. This is rarely known. And we all know from childhood, we read that there are 17 invasions which happened on Somnath. Although in the recent years, Professor Ram Gopal Mishra and Sitaram Goel had proved that it was not 17, it was actually 12 invasions. And typical of Persian and Arabic or Turkic texts, which used to exaggerate, every incident, so they kind of made it 17 times to look up, you create a huge impact, but it was not 17 plus 12. But Jagannath temple experienced 18 invasions. Now, a little look if we go into the details of these 18 invasions. 13 invasions happened in a range of 165 years. Imagine, in a range of 165 years, 13 invasions happening between 1568 CE to 1733 CE. And this is the time for this 165 years when Jagannath Mahaprabhu moves around all around Odisha in very difficult locations, in mountains, in the sometimes under the ground, and which we will cover in details and what not, all those. Out of these 13 invasions, 9 invasions happened between 1601 to 1692 in a span of 90 years. So on an average, with although you can see 10 years for every invasion, but actually it is 2 to 5 years in some of the cases. So which we will cover in our next slide. Who were the invaders? The invaders were mostly Delhi Sultanate, the Mughals, and the Bengal Sultanate. The last invasion, this is very, very weird, I would say. The last invasion was as late as 1881 CE, where some believers of Mahima Dharma, just stormed into the temple and, did a lot of damage. The recorded first invasion was way back in 9th century by the Rashtrakutas. Now, I'm going to show you something very different this time. We all talk of invasions. We know the Islamic invaders used to invade our temples, destroy them, desecrate the idols. They resort to iconoclasm, loot the temple wealth. But this time, I'm going to show you how our own Hindu rulers also, some of them, not all, resorted to it. So the Rashtrakutas were the first invaders, which we will cover in the next slide. The deities were hidden all across Odisha. So now this is something very special. I wanted to bring this in a little more details, and I will show you. Over a span of 165 years, which I was showing, the areas where Jagannath Mahaprabhu used to be hidden underground, or in caves, or on mountain tops, or in deep jungles, the kind of resilience, the kind of hardship, the kind of sacrifices the kings, the Nayaks, the Khandayats, the soldiers, and most importantly, the servitors or the Sevaites has undergone, and what they have performed is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. The more you read on them, you get simply outstanding. It is because of these sacrifices, and which is why I always say that Dharma did not survive on its own, or Sanatan Dharma did not survive on its own, had not these sacrifices, this resiliency, these hardships of our forefathers had not been in place. The secret dwellings, all these secret dwellings places are still there. I'm going to show you some pictures, some sample pictures, to give you the understanding of what impactful activity that we are talking of. And the Riti Nitis of Jagannath Mahaprabhu, the daily Riti Nitis, including Rath Yatra, are still observed in these, these locations, even today. As I said, the supreme sacrifices of the Pikes, the Khandayats, the elite fighting force of the kings of the Puri and Kurda or the Gajapati Maharaj, and the priests and servitors are really worth mentioning, and that is why I laid special emphasis on them. We will discuss in greater details the invasions of Rakbahu, who was the Rashtrakuta king who first invaded in 800 CE, Kalapahar, who led the most destructive the most destructive invasion on Puri, and Kesoda Maru, the Rajput, who invaded Puri on the instructions of his master Hasim Khan, who was the Subedar of Bengal under Jahangir. And the primary reasons, of course, as we all know, temple wealth, which is seen everywhere, and autonomy of the Kalinga kings were a prime cause, particularly for Delhi Sultanate and Bengal Sultanate.